A new report has revealed that community resistance to big data center buildouts has blocked or delayed at least 75 US data center projects worth 130 billion. Not normal time, that's in the first quarter of this year. But this is more than all of the disruptions in 2025. This is driven by the grassroots distrust of these data center buildouts, the consumption of power leading to increased power costs, the consumption of water, but also the fact these data centers don't bring jobs once they're built. And so this is pretty much unprecedented pushback, sparked regulatory bills across 14 states, as well as some push towards some federal regulation of this. And it poses a massive roadblock for tech giants racing to scale AI computing capacity. Tom, is it all going to go to space?
Probably not, because again, I have to remind Lex Luthor and Elon Musk and Tony Stark and everybody else, space doesn't work like that. If you want to know more, check out the Kyle Hill video. I highly recommend it because he is an actual nuclear physicist. But I think what we're seeing here is the realization that, if you think of the old field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. In this case, they're going to come before you even build it so that you can't build it. Because people are starting to realize that not every capital expenditure a construction project has long-lasting positive outcomes for the community. Just look at the fact that a lot of these places, they're having to build these data centers in the middle of nowhere in Utah and California and places like that, because nobody wants to live next to a data center. We actually heard a really interesting anecdote from John Green here at HPE Discover, and they were talking about the fact that the US East 1 data centers over in Virginia, they've started to notice that when snowstorms come up the coast and blow over Asheville, Virginia, that they actually split and go around because the amount of heat that is coming out of these data centers is causing a localized weather phenomenon. Look, kids, I live in a state where weather is a thing and weather is weird. But splitting a snowstorm in the middle of the winter because your data center is pumping out too much heat, look, that's a weird thing. And that's just one of the things that we're seeing. Power costs are being driven up, and the fact that these data centers get access to that power before a lot of other places do because of the covenants that they put in place, the electrical companies. The fact that there is a water problem because it turns out you do need water to cool a lot of these things. And I've seen some crazy stuff about water-cooled data centers and glycol-cooled data centers. And one of the things that I learned was that glycol actually does not have the same cooling capacity as deionized water. They would prefer to use the water because it actually can take more of a thermal load. So when you take all of these things together, it means that there are a lot of people in the media right now who are trying to convince you that you need a data center. You need to build this giant Amazon's warehouse sized thing that doesn't have Amazon stuff in it. It just has racks and racks of computers that are managed by about 15 or 20 people, which means that your local McDonald's employs more people than your average data center does. And when you consider the costs of resources to build it, when you consider the cost of resources that maintain to operate it, a lot of people are starting to ask the very obvious question of, why do I want this? And the answer is starting to become, I don't. And I think that that's what's really driving a lot of this conversation. But we see this a lot with all kinds of other things, whether it's something like a prison complex or, a satellite farm or whatever. This is nothing new in the US. There's a reason why NIMBY, not in my backyard, is something in the vernacular of these companies and these communities, is because they want the benefits of what this brings. They want to use generative AI, just not here. Go put it in some other state. And I know that there's been a lot of pushback from people in the media, even going so far as to accuse them of being bought and paid for by other governments around the world. I don't buy that for a second. I think that you now have seen what years of civic apathy has finally led to, where you have people who are basically using this for TikTok clout, and it's working. So I'm sure that we'll see more about this in the near future.